Welcome. So this is like my first video and probably my last, but it doesn't matter. So this is like a high-rated Despia deck profile, high-rated in Dueling Book. I managed to reach top 100 with this deck. It saw some changes, but like this is the final build here. So I'm gonna do a deck profile with in-depth analysis, except from like the standard stuff. So okay, when it comes to standard stuff, Three Fallen of Albaz, it's pretty standard. Like, and I don't think I have to explain why. If anybody has a question on why you play Three Albaz, I would just say play the deck more and you're gonna find out why. It's like sometimes it feels like a brick, its effect is not that good, but you need it. 3 Aldebar, okay, standard, nothing more to say. The 1 Adlib, I just want to say that I don't play Dramaturge in this deck. It can help in if the mirror match was more prevalent, I would play it because the card is really good in the mirror. But I don't think that Despair is like by far the best deck in the format. I don't even think it's the best deck in the format. I don't think we have a best deck in the format right now. So I don't think it's worth it because like on its own, it doesn't do much. And Adlib doesn't do not it does nothing on its own as well, but it revives a monster and that effect is way more valuable. Like Dramaturgy on the field is way less good than Meteorgate on the field, for example. 3 Despian Tragedy. You could cut this to 2. I play 3 because you want to open this card because it synergizes with some of the decks I play, and like it, of course, it synergizes with opening and with allure. And if you like have this in your hand and use it to search Aluber by banishing enough allure or by discarding with opening, you can send to the graveyard from Branded Fusion this card here, which is Despian Comedy. So this card, for those who don't know, has 2 effects. It's like 1 effect per turn and only once a turn. So when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a face of Despia card you control, quick effect, you can discard this card and negate that effect. So if you go normal summon your Aluber and they chain infinite impermanence, for example, on it, or effect Veiler, you can use Comedy and negate that, which is really good. But the main effect is if this card is in your graveyard, quick effect, you can trigger 1 fusion monster, special summon this card. So if you send this off Branded Fusion, you just make your Lubellion just make him way stronger against like targeting negation. Most people will target the Aluber, and I think that that's the right thing to do. You don't want to play into Branded Lost, even though I'm not playing that package. But yeah, still, sending Comedy to the graveyard, it helps you dodge these effects in case they keep them for Lubellion. It's also like a different name for Guardian Chimera. Like, you can like summon Guardian Chimera by using Comedy and like 2 other monsters. It doesn't really come up. You're gonna have the 3 names, but it's a different name. And you can unironically dodge Droplet with this if they don't send a monster by sacrificing your Chimera. But yeah, that just happened once. So 3 Egypt Chain, this is self-explanatory. I don't think that I need to say anything. 1 Snow, and the only hand trap I play in this deck, Ash Blossom, for a quote-unquote go first, go second card you're gonna see later. Obviously it's cross out, never mind. For the spells, 3 Branded Fusion, cards busted, you draw it, you search it, it resolves. That's the important thing, it has to resolve. And if it resolves, you win the game. 3 Branded Opening, this is another consistency card. It's also your main way of playing around Droll and Lockbird. Like, Droll is like a weird card against Despia. I'm gonna explain this after the deck profile though. 2 brown and red. I play 2, while you could play 3. I just feel like it's one of these cards that doesn't do anything on its own. Yes, it can also help Lubelia dodge more targeting effects, especially since I don't play the Lost package. And it's also really good because you're gonna summon 2 fusions and your opponent will waste a card and you're still gonna get another Branded in red or Branded Banishment of Albion. But it doesn't do anything on its own, and you can recycle it with Tragedy in grind game situations. Like, Even though I've never seen myself needing 3 copies of this. Like, if the meta changes in a way where this is way, way better than this, I'm gonna play 3 of this. 3 Allure, a really strong card in the deck, makes you lose a bit to draw, but it's such a strong card. Deeps for your go second stuff, digs for your starters. It's added consistency. Like, we're playing 44 cards with how many 1 card combos actually? The 3 Albert, the 1 Gold Star here, the 3 Branded Opening, and the Branded Fusion. So that in total is 10 cards, if I'm not mistaken. This is not enough. You want to draw more. You want more consistency to reach the 85% golden percentage. And Allure really helps with that. 2 Patchwork. So here is where things start to get a little bit different. Most people play 3 Patchwork, but as most people have also figured out from testing, if you draw too many of the Patchwork stuff, you're just playing with less cards. You want to draw only one, and you just want to draw this and search this. Because even like if you draw Patchwork, it's not bad, of course, but it makes you lose to draw. For example, let's say you draw Opening plus Patchwork. You have to activate Patchwork, and you lose to draw. But if you draw Chain Opening, for example, you are in the draw phase, you activate Opening, you get Albert and Chain. You can chain block whichever one you want, and your opponent can draw you. And you have the Patchwork, which can search the poly and another Egypt chain. And you can keep the Egypt chain to search a Patchwork on the following turn, or use it as a material in case you don't have the monsters. So, of course, the 2 polys that come with the Patchwork stuff. This card, you don't want to open it, you want to search it, but if you open it, it's not the end of the world. It's like really minus polymerization, using polymerization to fuse into Lubellion with an Albaz and a Dark Monster, or like with a like using 2 Despias, or a Despia and a Dark to summon Masquerade or the Quart. I'm calling him Quart, I'm not pronouncing him whole. But you have to play it for the package. It's really good. It also like helps you extend more plays. It's really good also going second for Guardian Chimera. And for the quote-unquote flex spots, like they are 10. You could like I'm playing 3 Crossout with Ash just being the target. This is the card that makes me lose the most games. This is what I figured out. It's not like Droll, it's not DD Crow, it's Ash. Ash is like the best card obviously against Despia because it has a target on Branded Fusion. If you don't resolve Branded Fusion, you are kind of playing a fair deck. So that's why I think Crossout is really, really valuable in this deck. It's also really good in the mirror match, of course. Like Crossout is insane in mirror matches. 3 Dark Rulers and 3 Droplets. These 2 are the best going second cards right now. I don't think Super Poly is that good. It's good against Adventure Dragon Link, but it doesn't out the Scythe Lock. Unless you like start with Albas on your normal and don't use the effect, but that requires you opening Albas plus Super Poly, while Dark Ruler on its own negates effects. Droplet is also really, really good. Like, these 2 cards and Super Poly have the great thing where your opponent basically cannot respond. Like, Dark Ruler, they can respond to it by having Hot Red in their combo, but there are many people who actually don't play Hot Red, and it's okay, it still baits an interruption. Also, Hot Red hard loses to Droplets because if you activate a card and Hot Red attempts to negate it, you can send it off with Droplet, and you just have to send 1 card less, and the card that you activated previously will resolve. So yeah, these 2 are the best going second cards in the game. I have a strong feeling that this deck will play Ultimate Slayer in the future. It's really, really good because it not only can send like random extra deck targets like Elder Entity and Tis, it can also send your Albions, like let's say your opponent summons a turn 0 wind against you. Okay, Ultimate Slayer, shuffle it back, Albion, set Branded Red, and you have a disruption of that. And this is like 40 cards, so the one-offs here, 1 Gold Star, it's consistency. You could play Foolish, but I didn't want to play many cards. I understand that you can argue it increases consistency, but it in the end of the day it does the same thing as Goldsark does. And Goldsark is better than Foolish because it can banish Feather Duster and get it to your hand 2 turns afterwards to out Mystic Mine. It's my main deck Mystic out. I really like the card. It also wins many game ones against decks like Striker, decks like Eldritch, Branded, etc. One Call by the Grave, Outash helps this deck a lot, but is really good going second against Despia. Yeah, I just fuck this card, ban this card. And one Branded Banishment. This card just auto wins the mirror match. If you resolve this card in the mirror match, it's game over because you're gonna banish 2 other guys, summon Dracostapelia, and from that alone, you just gotten rid of everything. And the problem is that in the mirror, the only way to out this card is by using cross out on it. Or having like side deck banishing spells for it. And because if they don't, you just can set it back with tragedy. And you just get rid of your opponent's board while building your own. It's really unfair in the mirror match. It banishes the card as well. It's also really good against decks that play, dark monsters, light monsters. Uh, Overall, really strong card. Brown and Red is obviously way more flexible, but it's a good card. And I think that in a Tiarlaman format, this card will be even better because you can banish the Tiarlaman cards from the field. You unfortunately cannot banish the Kaleido Heart because it cannot be used as a fusion material, but banishing all the others is really good because these cards have to be in the graveyard in order to resolve. So this is the main deck. When it comes to the extra deck, I am playing 2 Lubellians. I understand playing one, but I really think that in a grind game situation you need to, especially if the first one gets stopped. You cannot like activate Branded Fusion by sending a light monster all the time. You're just playing one snow. So I think that playing 2 Lubellion is the best thing because you want one for the grind game and one if your first one gets stopped by, let's say, an effect negation card and you didn't send Comedy of Branded Fusion, or you didn't have Branded in red, or you didn't have Snow and Heart to discard. 3 Albion. I used to play 2 of this to make room for Glory. It wasn't the best idea. Like, you can't play 2, but of course 3 is the best because you wanna send one, summon one, then send the other. You can recycle them. You can recycle them with Lubellion as well. So yeah, this is like an auto 3-off inclusion in the deck. It's like because you wanna summon this card, because you wanna send Snow in the graveyard. 1 Alba Lenatus. This is here for the Dragon Link boards. You can arguably not even play this card. I'm just playing it as an extra copy of a card to send off Mirror Jade in case I use it, then revive it with Adlib on my own turn, and then want to use the effect again. I'm not gonna send like a second Albion, I just want to have something to send. Back in the day that used to be like the Glory Dragon to add the Mercurier, but I'm not playing these cards anymore. And I am playing Alba Lenatus for that. He can unironically add Polymerization, which is not irrelevant because this opens the room for Guardian Chimera plays. He also adds Fusion Destiny for the hero lover boys out there, but that package is not worth it. It's not worth it playing 2 good cards in exchange for 2 bricks in a competitive deck. You're just gonna draw those bricks way too often. You can use them to make Chimera, but you don't want to do that. 2 Mirror Jade, pretty standard. 2 Chimera, 1 is not enough obviously. 2 is a standard number. Insane card going second. This is why you play the Frightful package. Being able to have Chimera as a threat, pop 1, draw 2 more gas cards, is actually insane. There are so many decks that can't stop this. They like cannot stop this. Guardian, if you can Ash Guardian Chimera, Ash Guardian Chimera. The card's insane. If this card resolving just wins games. It's even better if you play hand traps in the deck, obviously, because you can draw into hand traps, especially if you use it as a disruption from Branded in red. But I don't really think hand traps are the best in this format and moving forward. One Draco Stapelia, really strong card to end your to have your turn on board alongside Mirror Jade. Really good target to summon of Branded Banishment. A very versatile card, and it's also like a negation. It's like this deck has ways to get rid of monsters with Mirror Jade and Chimera. Chimera can also like pop spells and traps, of course, which is like your only main way of removing backer in this deck. Uh, and like Draco Stapel is like effect negation. Like it can carry matchups like the Flonderies matchup. They find themselves facing a Draco Stapelia and be like, okay, I can't do anything. I two chain energy. You you can make two of these. I just find it to not be that insane. Like I understand why Masquerade is good, especially against like Sky Strider, which is your worst matchup because you have like this recurrable beat stick that just comes back. And you can even recycle it with Adlib if needed against Striker. And your opponent just like has to constantly pay life points. Like if you have one, it's not good. But if you have two of them, it's like insane. But if they have the out, like they have the Dark Ruler, they have the Droplet, you just seem to have two cards in the field that will do nothing. Like if your Mirror Jade gets imperm, you're still gonna get like a card that will send Albion or Renato to the graveyard's cost, or you know have a card that will nuke the board in the end phase if it leaves the field and gets into the graveyard banished. Like Unicorn Shuffle Mirror Jade is a bit annoying sometimes. So yeah, I could cut this to one. But there are situations where double Masquerade is just the end of the game, especially against decks like Flounder, Drytron. But I don't think these decks are like the best right now. Even though Flounder is not in an awful spot, like I feel like part of the Elements releases really boost Flounder because it can play the macro floodgates, and these are really good against TR Element, and it can also like play board breaker shit, and the splat cards, except though, don't really have graveyard effects. One Curtis, this card's insane. It's like your contingency plan, and it's really good. There are many decks that have faced this and they have no idea how to like effectively out it. They can like use effect to get it off the field, but then you're gonna get two Albas and you're gonna fuse with their monsters. They might just go to the battle phase to be over it. Like when they go into access code lines, this card is really good against access code lines. And yeah, that's just good enough for you because you bought the turn. Like, and if you are able to buy a turn with this deck in simplified game states, you're already ahead because you have so much follow-up if your standard plays go through. If you, for example, have Tragic in the graveyard to recycle back your Branded Fusion or your Branded in red. Like, and the final card is, it's for Dueling Book meta. I don't think I would play Starving Venom in an actual event if I'm not playing Super Poly, but I'm playing this as a main deck out to the Arrival Cybers. Yes, they can negate it with Dalmari, but you can't have everything in this world. Overall, Antignister is like one of the most coin flipping matchups for this version of the deck because if they go first, they just set a big guy and you need to have an out for Dalmari plus a way to get to Venom, which isn't that easy all the time. If you go first, you can like send Snow to the graveyard, book their normal summon, and win. Like it's real, but they also play Rivalry, which is a really annoying card against you. So if there was like a card that I could replace Starving Venom, it would be, there are two cards. The first one is wait, Borrello. It's this one, Borrello Furious Dragon. So what this card does is it takes two Dark Dragon monsters, and as a quick effect, it can destroy a monster you control and a card your opponent controls. So its second effect is to revive a Darkling monster, but we don't care about that effect. We care about the first effect. And also it's summoning materials. Like this can summon itself by, in a grind game, by having Lubellion shuffle back to Albions, which is automatically insane. Secondly, it's an out rivalry. Because you activate Branded Fusion, you send the two Albazes to the graveyard and you summon Lubellion. Lubellion summons this guy by shuffling back the two Albazes. And then you pop the rivalry by popping your Lubellion and the rivalry. So it's also like a card that can deal with Mystic Mine, but I don't think it's like worth it having it in your main board. It's more of like a flex spots. And it's good against like background decks like Eldritch, for example. But yeah, these decks aren't really being played at the moment. And this deck can beat one Flatkit really easily. Even if it's rivalry, you can kinda help yourself by playing around rivalry. But if there are like two or more, yeah, it's a bit annoying. But that's the truth for almost every deck out there. The other card in this extra deck that you could replace is if you play Striker Dragon. Because if you play Striker Dragon, you can like, this just makes Branded Red plus Albaz into full combo. Because you link summon this by sending the Albaz to the graveyard and you activate Branded Red and you summon Lubellion. Like, I understand the logic behind this. I don't think it's worth it though. But if we ever come to a format where it's absolutely necessary to even increase more the consistency of my deck, I would definitely like play 3 red to play this. But the main two flex spots are like the Venom Fusion Dragon and the Albalanatus. All the other 13 cards are a must-have in the deck. And like having the new like staple card will change the extra for sure. We may play Antis, but that's all up for testing. So for the side deck, this is like for Dueling Book mostly, but you can like try it in an actual tournament. I don't think it's that bad. 3 Kaijus, 3 Radiants. Like, what's the theory behind this? Radiant is like dark because which synergizes with Allure in case you like draw many or you don't want to use a Kaiju because you're already ahead. But for one, it outs the big board, it outs the Arrival Cybers guy. I mean, if they have rivalry face up, they have rivalry face up. You just can't do anything about it. That's the harsh reality of playing against Static Gnister. But that deck is a Dueling Book deck. It's not really a tournament deck. Even though it did well at German Nats, I think. This also really good against Marincess because they end their turn by having the Argonaut and the Marincess Wave. These are like the disruptions they get off of their standard combo. They may get a Toad if their hand is good. They may have some hand traps as well. So, but like the Kaiju, by Kaijuing the Argonaut, just deals with Wave and deals with Argonaut herself because she is off the field, so she can't activate her effects, and Wave cannot activate because there are no link monsters, Marincess link monsters on the field anymore. They usually keep it at hand because they don't want it to get hit by like Feather Dusters, Lightning Storms, etc. Like, you could like play something else if the format changes. Like, if Tear Element is a good deck, I see this becoming DD Crow, for example, because DD Crow is also a really good card. It's a really good card against Tear Element, and it's also a good card you can cross out in case they use it against your Branded in Red or your Branded Banishment. 3 Cosmic Cyclone. You could play Twin Twisters, but I just think that there's already a lot of discarding in this deck. You're playing Opening, for example. Lubellion discards. Droplet usually discards. Snow can sometimes banish from your hand. Sometimes you use materials from your hand more for Branded Red. Allure of Darkness has to banish a dark monster, which will not always be Tragedy. So, I understand wanting to play Twin, but I think this is better. Good against back row decks, banishes the card, which is really important against like Striker, for example. It's really important against like Atignisters if you go first. You can put this card in going first, it just banishes their field spell. But they can play around that thing though if it's only that. And overall, like a really good card. It's not that insane, for example, like against Flounder, because Flounder has more spells, and Twin Twisters would be better against that deck. But that deck is not that good. Two Lightning Storms, you could swap the ratios of this with this. I just think that there is enough back row hate in this deck, even without the Lightning Storms. And Lightning Storm can work as a good second card against mostly link strategies, and against people who may not play around it, like by summoning their Synchro Monsters in attack mode. And even if they don't, you're just gonna get rid of like link cards. It's or of all the spells they have. It's a really good card, not the best going second card against monster boards. It's a good card against spells, obviously. And it's like when you get into some like grand game Mystic Mind situations and you just have the Mirror Jade, you can Mirror Jade banish itself and activate this, which happens a lot unironically against Striker, which is your worst matchup. One red reboot, no need to explain this. Like, dimensional barrier is annoying as fuck, anti-spell is annoying as fuck that card. So you just need to have a card that deals with them. And red reboot is a degenerate card, of course, but we play degenerate cards to beat degenerate cards. And for the last cards, 3-dimensional barrier and 3 there can be only one. These are going first cards. You see, this deck plays decks that are mostly good going second. Like, let's say I'm playing versus Swordtool, for example, and I'm playing first. I'm just gonna take off Dark Rulers. I'm gonna take out the Banishment, and maybe two more cards, like I take out the Droplet or take out the Gold Sark, and just put these 6 in because they're just like game enders against them, for example. But yeah, there are like so many. Like, I understand that they're like go first heavy cards, but they're really good at that. Like, Barrier is the really good in the mirror match, obviously. Like, yes, Super Poly can beat it, but I don't think Super Poly is that insane in the mirror match. Like, if you have like, because you have Banishment, and Banishment just counters Super Poly, because you're gonna bring back your Mirror Jade and fusion someone by using their monster to bring a Dragostapelia, which is like so much fucking value off one card. Overall, that is the deck profile. This will obviously change post Power of the Elements. I still think this deck will be really good. Branded Fusion is an insane Yu-Gi-Oh card. And there is potential to play this deck with your elements, of course, by playing like a smaller branded package and playing more Tower Element cards. We will see. We also need to see how Splight is being played, because we have more cards than the Japanese don't. We still have full access to the Brave Engine, for example. Overall, can't wait for post Power of the Elements format. This was my deck profile for the format that is ending, to be honest. Okay, that's all. Have a nice day. Goodbye.